3 weeks ago, I did an AP stack video on the Cam Chancellor Super Bowl item. In that point in time, I called it the best defensive player in MUT history.
Bold move, brother.
Since that point, we've had some tweaks, we've had some server adjustments, and I just, to be honest, want to talk about whether or not that information is now a myth. I want to do this so I could cover my own tracks in the event that this has changed to give you guys the updated information, but also this has become the primary AP meta that you're seeing a lot of players using with these newer cards. So we're going to talk about why I was using the Zone KO, Pick Artist, Reinforcement, or Dual Threat stack on these cards. The long and the short of it is that the Reinforcement ability is going to be a catch disruptor no matter what, but it does not give you a break on ball bonus. So think of it as flat zone KO, mid zone KO, and deep zone KO, but they don't actually light up as soon as the quarterback goes to throw the ball. It will only knock it out if the receiver is basically in the phone booth with them as the contact is made on the catch point. And then what we did is we decided to run Pick Artist for free, which comes free on most items in the game from a coverage standpoint, because you want to be able to catch said picks when they're thrown to you. But then we would pay a minimum AP value for any zone KO in the game. For some cards, it's going to be a mid zone KO. For some cards, it's going to be a deep zone KO. You're paying the minimum value possible just to get the improved reaction portion of the zone KO, because again, you're going to get the knockout from the X factor. So we just want to be able to light up anywhere on the field. I really do strongly feel like the KO abilities in this game are not responding unless you're in a zone or standing in an area of the field that corresponds with the knockout. So I think there's a couple of different ways you can achieve this. While I'm loading up a second controller here, if you guys could do me a favor, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, hit that notification bell, and drop a like on this video. The most important part of YouTube, make sure you guys are liking the video. It helps tell the YouTube algorithm that this is a helpful video, and it rewards my channel with more suggestions to people who are searching for Madden content. I would really appreciate it if you guys could take just the quick 1 second to hit that like button. Now back to the video. So I'm going to put in Jair Brown here at the right of screen safety, and we're just going to test this out of $1 and just kind of get an idea for how this is going to behave. So the first thing that I want to kind of talk about with this that I've noticed is once I put out that Cam Chancellor video, and at that point in time, Cam was literally God tier. He was able to get a light up animation on any throw from any zone, and then his dual threat would cause the knockout for him. But what I started to notice is then it got to a point where at the point in time I was paying for his mid-zone KO, but I was playing him a lot in deep zones. So what that kind of did is it put me in a spot where I noticed he wasn't getting that first light up. I might have him in an outside third, even though he had the mid-zone KO, it wasn't giving him the improved reaction, which would then lead to the knockout from the dual threat ability. Well, what we're going to be doing here with this is we are going to be putting our player Jair Brown here into a variety of different zones. Now, of course, with deep zone KO, as long as he's in an inside quarter or a cover 2 half or maybe a cover 3 middle third, this is going to be something that you'll be okay because those are all deep zones. But the thing that I want to kind of draw attention to here is he getting a light up animation when he is in other zone assignments? Of course, we know the knockout will come if he makes contact, but if I were to go ahead and throw this ball right here, is he going to get that light up animation? And to be honest, it does not really feel like he is getting the break on ball unless he is in the zone type that now corresponds with that knockout, meaning a mid zone would be basically if he was in a hook curl of some point, essentially saying that he would need to be in some sort of deep zone to get this. And because I've got him in a hook curl, he's not getting the break on ball that is associated with the deep zone knockout. So as I kind of roll this tape here, I kind of want to just take a look. It's hard to tell because he does have an X factor because that's part of this video here. But if we were to kind of take a look here, you're going to see here that there is no light up. Traditionally, you will notice a little bit of a light up inside of the red or orange X as the ability is being used. If you kind of look at McNair, he's got a little lightning bolt through the middle of his corresponding with his velocity ability. But if you look up top at Jair Brown in that right safety role, he does not get a little lightning strike animation in the middle of his to kind of indicate that there is an elite break on ball that is occurring here. However, you will notice that if I were to throw a route his way and he's in a deep inside zone, you're going to see the light up animation where he is able to get the break on ball. Now, of course, that goes without saying. You have a deep zone zone KO, it's going to get the light up when it's in a deep zone. But for whatever reason, it doesn't appear to me like he is getting the adjust or the break on ball bonus associated with the deep KO when he's in other assignments. So let me give you another example. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to set my, let's go ahead and set flats to like 30, for instance, or let's actually set them to like 15.
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this coverage up a little bit. Again, keeping in mind that he does have a deep KO. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put him into a purple. I'm going to shade my coverage down so that he basically ends up playing the hard flat set to 15. What I want to test here is, does he get some sort of break on ball light up animation when I run this zone drop setting out here on the right side? So you see right here, he does appear to get a light up animation. I think moreover, the real question is, can you run a deep zone knockout and expect it to light up in other assignments such as hooks or zone dropped blues? We saw that the hook in the first example doesn't get a light up on a drag, but we did see, even though he was out of the play on this example, that he actually did get the break on ball animation. He's out here just kind of hanging out. Quarterback goes to throw. He's immediately braking on this to try to head towards that direction, despite being, you know, in a blue that's set to 15 or 20. So now here's the real kicker. It does seem to me like there is maybe selective break on ball with deep zone logic KOs, but we need to still test the mid zone KO because there are cards out there like Derwin James, for instance, that will get an X Factor ability on their elevation for the reinforcement. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to take the deep zone knockout off of this card. I'm going to leave the mid zone knockout, which is free, and I'm going to run the pick artist. So this is a 0 AP universal zone knockout stack, according to many players out there. Let's see if this actually plays the way that you would expect it to. The goal of this is to basically figure out what is the cheapest AP stack possible that allows you to run a reinforcement ability that stays lit up the entire game. Is it 1 AP deep zone? I would argue, based off of the Jair Brown with deep zone knockout for 1, pick artist for 0, and reinforcement for 0, that it's not really that good. Not really that good, because again, you're only getting the elite break on ball basically in a zone drop blue, or if he's in the deep zone, whether it's an inside quarter, middle third, or deep half. My speculation here is that mid zone KO is actually going to work here on Derwin, but that's why we're doing the test here. So let's see what occurs. So let's run the exact same test here with Derwin James. We're going to run the cover 4 deep zone. So again, keeping in mind, he's got mid zone knockout on this. He, in theory, if my test is correct, will not light up on a break on ball opportunity while the quarterback is throwing from a deep zone while having the mid zone knockout. That would be more so reserved for what we just saw with Jair Brown. But my hunch is, after testing Jair Brown, that I got a feeling he's actually going to light up. So let's see. I'm kind of thinking both at the same time. Like, what makes sense from a logic standpoint is not what's actually going to happen. So he's in a deep zone here. I go to throw this, and you definitely can see that he gets a light up animation underneath his feet. So as we go ahead and snap this ball here, you're going to see, look right in the middle of that orange X. You do see that it got a little lightning bolt animation as he was breaking down towards that post, despite being in a deep zone. So this is actually the inverse of what we just experienced with Jair Brown. We had deep zone knockout, but did not get light up animations in hook zones to be able to break down on a throw. However, this player, who is a mid zone knockout in Derwin James, gets light up animations within a deep zone. So it only works one direction. Mid zones will light up in a deep zone, but deep zone knockout will not light up in a mid zone unless it's a zone drop blue on the sideline. So that's kind of where we're at with the testing here on this. So let's go ahead and try another example. Obviously, we know a hook curl is going to be able to make this happen. So if I were to put Derwin James into a hook to rob a drag or whatever, you obviously will see that he's going to light up on a throw underneath. Again, we do have a velocity ability, so how impactful is that going to be? Not really, but you do see that he lit up in you know, was at least able to cut off a couple yards after the catch off of that, compared to the Jair Brown, who got no break on ball bonus on the drag that we threw against him. So you definitely are seeing that cheap mid-zone KO does seem to almost universally light up, but we still have one more test left to do, and that is the zone drop blue with the mid-zone KO. So let's go right back and do the same test here. We're going to run him at a zone drop blue and a 15. This is really the interesting one to me because in theory, mid-zone KO should light up in a 15-yard setting for any zone on the field. Purple, blue, yellow, does not matter. And we already know it lights up for a deep middle zone. So, you know, really you don't have a zone drop for a deep inside quarter, but we know it should light up on this. But again, just for the sake of test environment, let's go ahead and put him in a purple, shade it down. We are just going to put him over there on the sideline, and I'm going to run a post his direction. Again, we saw the light up from Jair Brown. We know that he's not really going to impact this play and prevent us from catching this. But the whole point is, do we get a light up animation? And right there with his back almost completely turned to the ball, it does appear to me like maybe he didn't, which is maybe starting to kind of lend itself towards, okay, is there something here in terms of basically the player has to be kind of in the area of the knockout to also get the bonus? Let's try to figure this out here. So if I go ahead and I throw like a crosser, for instance, will he light up? And you actually saw late in that play, as I got to throw out a sack animation, that he did light up. I know it was really, really tough to see right there. Really not great example because the ball didn't actually get out of the quarterback's hands, but you actually saw the ability to light up. So it does appear to me that as long as the guy's back isn't completely turned and the throw is like 30 yards away, like that previous example, that it does seem like mid-zone KO universally lights up. So I think you guys can go ahead and trust this in an inside quarter. You guys can trust this in a middle third. Let's try a middle third just real quick, just to be sure, because I want to see if the mid-zone KO does work on Derwin here. So we're going to pull him down the middle, and I'm going to throw. Yeah, you saw right there that he immediately was turning to break on that throw. So mid-zone KO works in any zone in the game. Deep zone KO will not light up the same way as mid-zone KO does. So if you're going to stack a dual threat or a reinforcement X factor to get knockouts on contact anywhere on the field, you need to make sure it's stacked with a mid-zone KO. So even if your card offers like a deep out KO for one and a reinforcement X factor, that's not going to play nearly as well for you or as consistently for you as a mid-zone KO stacked with the X factor. And that is why I wanted to test this. Madden changes, server changes, patch changes. They do all kinds of wild stuff all the time with break on ball thresholds. You see it change almost all the time. One day your KOs will be great, the next day they won't. Some days flat zone KOs are great, the next day they're terrible. I just really wanted to get to the bottom of this because I was really kind of feeling like the deep zone KO mixed with a dual threat was not really working. And now we know why. Now we know why. So mid zone KO plus your X factors, you guys will be getting your universal coverage stack. Hope you guys enjoyed this little test. I had my hypothesis. It was not exactly right. I knew there was something different going on, but I'm glad we got to the bottom of it. If you guys liked today's video, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell, drop a like, drop a comment. I'll see you guys on Monday. Until then, this is Zan. Get the lab in. Good luck.